Welcome back to another episode of Zyori Vlogs. How are you? How you doing? It certainly has been a while, folks. Really, it's been a while since a lot of things have happened over at ZyoriTV. If you haven't noticed by now, we have launched our new project, which is www.dotaradio.com. If you haven't checked it out, please go over to that domain and do so. There's actually a link on the ZyoriTV main page, so if you've been missing out on Dota Radio action, I don't know what to tell you. As the sole content producer on really both ZyoriTV and Dota Radio, it's been rough trying to manage both, and I have to say this Dota Radio thing kind of took off. We hit the ground running. We've been broadcasting every single day. We're starting with Star Ladder right around 10 or 11 a.m. EST, and now we've been adding in some MLG qualifiers, maybe going to add that Ray Call EMS Cup. A lot of options here for Dota casting, and people have taken to the project quite well. So I do apologize for the lack of stuff coming out on ZyoriTV, but until we get all settled down and the schedule with Dota becomes a little more comfortable, it's hard to manage both. So I wanted to take the time to talk about Dota Radio a little bit and my initial reactions, as well as talk about some of the changes coming to ZyoriTV in the relatively near future. So Dota Radio has really been great, guys. I have to say it feels great to be back broadcasting again. It's what I really like to do so far. It's by far the most exciting job I've ever had in my life, so it feels great to be able to wake up and actually do something that I look forward to and feel competent at, and it's been pretty awesome. That's really all I can say. We've been streaming every day. People have been taking to it, and I think it's only going to get better if we keep up the momentum that we're grabbing here. My co-caster, APOC, you guys all know him, even if you don't recognize the name. He's been my lead artist for, Jesus, about 2 years now. It's been a while. He did the original site design for ZyoriTV. He did the reboot design of ZyoriTV. He did the logo design for Dota Radio. He's done the logo design of pretty much every show or podcast or anything else that I've done in the last 2 years. Cosplay Room, all that stuff was my co-caster. And as luck may have it, he's also a Dota buff and not too bad of a caster himself. So Dota Radio really has been a fun experience. So the key content pieces I want to talk about ZyoriTV here coming up are as follows. The first is the Zyori podcast. I really want to keep doing it. I wanted to do the podcast just to keep myself fresh while I wasn't casting, and I think it did that. And I also just really love that format. Being able to talk to people that aren't just into video games about normal stuff is kind of a cool thing for a guy that spends all of his time producing content around video games and nerd culture. So I want to keep doing it. The problem is just after I broadcast for 5 hours doing Dota coverage, the last thing I want to do is sit on my computer by myself and just, talk about bullshit for an hour. That's really the last thing on my mind. I much prefer just not talking to anyone, laying down and sacking out a little bit. After casting for that long, man, your brain just turns into marshmallows. It's just hard to sit there and talk that much. I don't know how people talk 8 hours a day. That shit is crazy. 5 hours and I'm living on Beat Street, man. So the Zyori podcast will probably continue, not on the same frequency of that every Thursday mark that we only got on for a couple of weeks. I do want to keep doing it. I've got a list sheet here full of notes that is busting at the seams with all sorts of interesting stuff to talk about that I've jotted down over the past 10 days or so. So if you are one of those folks finding yourself missing the Zyori podcast, as we didn't have one last week, do not fear. It will be coming up in the near future, sometime whenever I get a spare moment. Second piece of content, the cosplay spotlights. As you know, or may not know, I've only done one of the 5 cosplay spotlights I gathered content for at Otakon 2013 in Baltimore a couple weeks ago. So I will be releasing all of those eventually. I feel kind of obligated to the people that I did the shoots with, and it's also really great content. So I do want to get that out there. My next one is started. I have kind of the framework for it, and I need to go through and edit all the pictures and edit the videos together and all that stuff. So we will have another cosplay spotlight coming out. I won't tell you which one it is. There are 4 left to choose from, and I'm not sure if you guys know exactly who I interviewed, so we'll leave it a little bit of a mystery. Last piece of content here, the cosplay room. You may have seen the episode we did last night about PAX Prime. That episode sort of marks the end of an era. I believe 2 of our hosts will be leaving us after, well, last night. It's not official yet, but we're still in talks, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have some new faces on the show as permanent hosts. So we're kind of going to reboot a little bit. I think over the past 8 episodes, we've learned what works, what doesn't, what's interesting, what makes a good host, what makes a good guest, what makes a good topic to talk about, all sorts of stuff that we didn't really know going into it. The cosplay room was one thing where I saw some popular people that weren't capitalizing on their marketing reach to the fullest extent that it exists. And, you know, I thought, let's scrap them together on video and see how this works. Cosplay, very visual, video podcast, I think it works. But we didn't really have a plan besides that, and going into it, I wasn't really sure what would make for interesting content in the cosplay arena. So we did learn some lessons, and I think we'll be coming back stronger than ever. So I'm sure some of you are thinking, so let me get this straight, bro. You're going to be casting Dota all day and then doing a League of Legends cosplay at night. That's kind of weird. Why would you want to do both of those? And I mean, I just don't see a reason to dump the cosplay thing just because I'm working in Dota. I mean, I think we all know how I feel about League compared to Dota, Riot compared to Valve. So it doesn't really matter. It's a podcast. It's more about cosplay than it is League of Legends. It's only for an hour once a week. There may be some occasions where we have to skip a Dota cast to do that podcast, which is unfortunate, and I'm sure that will irritate many of people, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So anyway, the cosplay room will be coming back. Make sure you check out last night's VOD. We did talk about PAX Prime. We were one host short, but we did talk about PAX Prime nonetheless, and we did get to see our hosts come back. So I think that wraps it up, though, folks. I just wanted to update you on what's going on so you know what's happening on Dota Radio. Oh! Better head over to DotaRadio.com and check it out. Until next time, though, guys, be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other. Check ZyoriTV and Dota Radio for daily new content. Take care, guys.